Okay, welcome to the first episode of hopefully many CaliCast. I'm your host, Gron. I'm joined by my co-host, Sheikh Tariq. And let's get into it. Sheikh Tariq,
Let's do it.
tell us about yourself because it's the first episode.
Well, before we start, isn't it funny that neither you nor I are California natives?
Yeah, Born
You're from
overseas.
New York. I'm from Chicago. Here we are in Cali, representing.
that's the surfboard. Just for today.
See, we probably appreciate this area more than the natives because we know what it's like being out in the East. Cold weather, flat lands. For Chicago, extremely humid. Really not much to do outside. You come out here, and you're just surrounded by the beauty.
I feel you. A year ago, I went to visit New York again and see my friends and all that. When I was there and it was summertime, thinking California, it's California's sun, the state of the sun, it's going to be really hot. If I go to New York, it's not going to be as bad. I went to New York, it felt 10 degrees hotter because it
Yep.
was so much more humid.
Yep.
Even in the
Yep.
shade,
Yep.
it's 90.
Yeah. And it's 90 degrees. And it's not like 90 here.
No.
90 here, if you're under shade, you're fine. It's the sun that's hot. But over there, it's just hot. It has nothing to do with the sun. It could be a cloudy day, and it's super hot. And by nighttime, only drops like 3 degrees. Over here, if it's a hot day, by night, it drops 20 degrees.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this desert-like weather. And I actually got used to that when I was in Jordan, because Jordan's more of this type of weather. So I got out of that. I'm like, oh, man, I was thinking, how am I going to go back to Chicago? Like, I haven't been there in 6 years. I haven't spent a winter there. So I forgot about that cold. And one time I went, and all I had is a very light jacket, what we'd call a spring or a fall jacket. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't need anything thicker than that in Jordan. So I go, and there's just like this huge cold front there. And it was negative 20 degrees. And I go out of the airport. This is the first time I feel this in in like 6-7 years. And I only have this spring jacket. And I'm sitting there. My brother's late. And I'm outside, and I was freezing.
You get frostbite from that weather.
You could, yeah. Yeah.
It's like you stepped off the plane and just hit you in the face, literally.
Yep. Literally like that. Funny story. When I was at NIU, Northern Illinois University, over there it's really cold. I mean, it's, Chicago weather. And one time was negative 17 degrees. And I would walk to and from class. And there was a masjid over there, a local masjid, that the community bought a home. And they made it into a prayer hall, like that. So what I would do is, salah time would be like after class, right after class. So I'd walk there and go and pray. Sometimes I just leave my car there. Or before class, I would go there. So I'd make wudu prior to leaving my home. So this time, I made wudu because I had to pray after class. So I made wudu and then went to class. And, I had my beard back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'd make wudu, you still have that water remaining. I go outside, 30 seconds, I feel it, it's ice. Ice. One time in that cold weather, I came home. I went to the freezer to get some food out to cook. I opened the freezer. I kid you not. I opened the freezer. You know how that air comes out?
Yeah.
It felt warm.
That's crazy.
I was like, wow, man. That's how cold it gets over there. And so, I talked to all my family's there, all my cousins are there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I grew up was there. And, I tell them about the Cali weather and whatnot. I was like, yeah, well, what's the big deal? It's just weather. Who cares? It's a little bit snow outside. We have heaters. We have air conditioning. What's the big deal, right? Like, you guys just don't understand.
No.
Once you come out here and live here, you can't. It's hard to get away from that.
That's what I remember. New York, same in our winters, it wouldn't be negative 20, but it'll be negative 10, and we have lots of snow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go shovel the snow, and for months.
Oh, I remember shoveling the snow, man.
All that
Hated
stuff.
That.
And
Cutting the grass.
All that. And I remember coming home with like $20 in my pocket after like 8 hours of being so happy. And people and my cousins used to live here from my dad's side. And when they came to New York visit, like, oh, it's so cold. I was like, it's not that. Like, I shovel snow. Like, it's cold, but it's not that cold.
Mm-hmm.
I come here my first year, wintertime, for me, it was summer.
Yep.
I see kids in my high school with like jackets on, and I'm there in shorts. I'm like, this is amazing. Year 2, year 3 comes back. Winter time comes, like, oh, it's getting cold. Let me get my New York jacket out.
Yep, I feel you. That's how I am.
So
It's like 60 degrees out this past few days.
Yeah.
It gets down to the 50s. Man, I have my jacket on. I'm cold. I'm talking to my family. I'm like, man, it's been chilly these past few days. It's like 60 degrees outside. And they start laughing. And it's good times, man. Good times. Alhamdulillah.
How about Jordan? What's the weather like in Jordan? Is it closer to California?
So it's very similar.
Okay.
Dry weather. The summers are a little bit warmer, and the winters are a little bit colder.
Mm.
But the terrain is very similar, and the weather is pretty similar.
You guys have nice beaches there too.
No, it doesn't have. It's landlocked. So
Ah.
the only beaches there are the Dead Sea. Yeah, so I've been there. It's a really interesting area. Jordan is, man, it's a country.
It's a country.
It's a very strange one. Very toxic. It has beauties, though. From how toxic the society is, everything becomes ugly.
What do you mean by toxic? Like
It's the people are very toxic, man.
they just
Like
they hate on you, pray on your downfall.
pretty much, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
that's how it is over there. It's tough. It's tough.
Okay.
And just to kind of give you an example of it, it's one time I was trying to see if I could get a Jordanian citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well, right? It doesn't hurt. America doesn't care if you have if you have dual citizenships. It's like, you never know what
You
happens
still
in
have
the
to pay the
future.
taxes.
What's that?
You still have to pay the taxes. That's why they don't care. Because if you have
Oh,
American
yeah.
citizenship, even if you revoke your citizenship, you still have to pay American taxes.
Yeah, that sounds American. So I tried doing it. We tried to go to some people we know who are higher up in this, this department of government, and I kept getting the same response. They're like, "Why? Why do you want it? Why do you want to live here?" Like, sounds if I want to live here, it's an opportunity, just in case. Like,
Mhm.
why? They just look at me confused. I'm like, "You have the American citizenship,
We fight for it.
and you want this? Why?" It's like, yeah. So good times, funny times.
Did you end up getting the
Alhamdulillah.
citizenship?
No, no. They're so stringent about it, man. Like the Arab world, when it comes to citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible to get it unless you're like, your great grandparents have been living there,
Okay.
or else you can't live it. You can't get it.
But it's not like people want to move to Jordan, you know?
You explained that to me. America is 10 times easier to get the citizenship. There are
That's-
many different ways of getting it.
That's surprising. Because I remember getting my citizenship to come to this country.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my family came, my mom, dad, my brother, sister, all of them. They came 6 months before me just because their visas worked. Their visas were approved and mine wasn't. But the problem was if they didn't go, it would expire and they didn't know when my visa would
Yep.
come in. And then I had to, and then I spent 6 months with my grandma and uncle. And I mean, it was a great time because they're like, oh, it's gonna be so sad his mom's not around. Because I was a little kid, I was like maybe 8. And then so I was like, wait, can I not go to school? They're like, okay, sure, don't go to school. So for 6 months I was on vacation.
For an 8-year-old, I mean, that's a time of a life. No, the visa process is pretty hectic. I remember getting my wife when we got married,
Mhm.
doing that for her. That was a very annoying process. Cost a lot of money too. That's annoying, but getting the citizenship's really easy. Once you have a way to it,
Mm-hmm.
they simplify it. But over there in the Arab world, man, it's like, no, we don't want you to have it. It's like, why? Why? Like, nope. They think it's something huge, and I don't know, man. It's just strange. It's
But
just the mentality.
You went there to study, so on the like, oh, he's studying to become a sheikh, mashallah. Let's make it easy on
Who
them.
cares, man?
But it's
They
an
don't
Arab
care.
country. It's a Muslim country.
It's pretty much my native, not my native. It's my ethnic country, man.
Mm-hmm.
That
there's still-
region is my ethnic region. Now I'm Palestinian,
Mm-hmm.
but you're talking about like a 15-minute drive. You're in Palestine.
Really?
A 30-minute drive. You're in Palestine. Yeah.
Like in Europe, they're just next to each other.
Yeah, they're just next to each other, man. The people are the same thing.
A lot of people will not like that.
What? In what way?
I'm sure the comment section will get very no, we're not the same. Jordan Palestinians are different.
No, I mean, I don't think so because the majority of Jordanians are Palestinian.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
It's
gonna
like
say because they fled
60%.
because of the war.
They fled in the 48 and 67.
Mhm.
They fled to Jordan. And for a long period of time, what's called the West Bank now was part of Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah. It was part of Jordan. And then some things happened, politics, thing in the 80s. It became its own separate territory, and disconnected from the government of Jordan. And so it was one, and the same terrain, the same customs. I mean, same language.
mm-hmm.
The dialect is very similar. There's slight differences, of course, but it's pretty similar. Now, there's a lot of racism by native Jordanians and people who are like their lineage is from the
Mhm.
desert area, who are called Jordanians, towards Palestinians, right? And that goes back to politics and whatnot.
They
But
grew up on the wrong side of the desert.
well,
It's like gang wars. Oh, you're born in that street.
yeah, it was exploited, unfortunately, by the government there.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, I mean, they live together, and
But if it's a majority Palestinians now, like you said,
mhm.
don't they just like doesn't racism go away because like okay, these are normal people?
No, I mean, look at the Emirates. The Emirates is like 9% of the population now there are
Mhm.
like the natives, 9%, and the rest are foreigners.
That's true. Because you don't give them citizenship. I guess
They,
yeah, like
they
Jordan too.
refuse, man. They refuse. And I was in a taxi in Jordan
Mhm.
with one guy. He said I was 40 years. I was in Kuwait, 40 years teaching and doing everything, and I left with nothing. Once he retired, he left with nothing.
Wow.
It's very unfortunate there, man.
But a country like Jordan that's not, I'm guessing, incredibly oil rich like the UAE.
No, it's economic
Wouldn't they
situation
make
is
more in
bad.
tax? Wouldn't they make more off a citizen and having them live there? Increase the population, increase GDP, all that good stuff.
They just don't think that way. They're not looking at it from the economic perspective.
Mm.
They're looking at it from more of the tribalistic perspective. Now, America seems to be shifting towards that, or a lot of Americans. Now you have this,
Nationalism coming in.
right, this right versus left type thing, Republicans versus Democrats. I mean, it's really a tribalistic type mentality, at least on the right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're Americans, we are the ones, we are doing this and that. And so it should only be us and whatnot. I mean, that's the mentality that's pretty much dominant in the Arab world, unfortunately. So, I mean, it's a scary thing to see it happening here in America.
For an Afghan, that's surprising because we have the same tribalism problem. But I thought, oh, Arab world, you guys like can understand the Quran more than us, maybe, and you guys are more educated in the Quran more than us.
Yeah, I mean,
Should be like
there
less
has been
big?
a huge revival
Mhm.
of Islamic sentiment and Islamic identity in the Arab world. I mean, absolutely huge since the 60s, really. And it's slowly kind of growing and growing. And the average Arab does spend an amount of time listening to these videos.
Mhm.
And from the Arab world, you have very, very popular figures with, you know, tens of millions of followers. So yeah, there is that end, but, you know, there's still some major challenges, major barriers. This notion of identity, it's a huge issue in our era.
Mhm.
And this seems to be at East and West. Globalism, I think, is some of the things that spark that. This notion that the globe is like one major country. And we're kind of all there. Where it's easy for us to interact.
Mhm.
Now, people have always traveled. You know, Ibn Battuta says that he's from Morocco, and he traveled. You know how the travel vloggers
Yeah.
are today? I mean, he did that, 700 years ago,
Just wrote it down.
right? And he pretty much went all over the world, man. He reached China,
Wow.
right? And this
That
is you're
is-
talking about on foot.
Yeah.
He reached China. His story is incredible, man. There's a YouTube channel called, I think, Extra Credit, and did a 6 video series on him. They did a really good job. It's hilarious, man. The things he went through, and they said this is the most epic human journey in human history.
Mm.
And he reached China, and one of the things he says in China is that when he was in China is that he saw Muslims there from all over the Muslim world. He said he met someone who literally lives in the same village or like a neighboring village to
Mhm.
him, to his hometown. I mean, that was happening
That's-
always. The Silk Road. So
You
you've
never think
always
about
had
that,
that.
yeah.
You never think about that. You've always had that, but it's not like today, man, where America, you know, you might find countries that are competent, as powerful, relatively speaking, of course, as
Mhm.
America. But this notion of integration, pluralism, at least at the level we see it now, I think that's pretty unique.
100%.
Just to find this diversity, I think that's pretty unique. Maybe sure in some major cities across the world, like in Damascus or Cairo, what's now Cairo, or Baghdad, back then you may have had this diversity, but
Nothing like today.
just I don't think it's at the level of today. It's pretty crazy, and that brings about a lot of challenges. And so, for example, here in the OCIF community,
Mhm.
like the Orange County Islamic Foundation, the masjid which I'm the imam of, alhamdulillah, there's a lot of diversity.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, in a Jummah prayer, if you kind of look at the nationalities people are from, you could probably get a good few dozens. From all across, you have from different African countries, you have from all across the Arab world, all across the South Asian world.
Mhm. Central Asian. I see
Central
more
A-
Central Asian brothers coming here.
Yeah, you have some Central Asian brothers. You have people from European Muslim areas, Kosovo, Albania,
Mhm.
Bosnia, coming here. You have Turks. You have people from Turkey. You just have all these different Southeast Asia. You have Malaysian, Indonesian.
Yep.
You have all of that. That's so beautiful, you know, for me and the pulpit, looking at such a diverse crowd. But try getting them together. That's a huge challenge.
Okay.
Right? And of course, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq to be able to do that, bring these
Mhm.
hearts together. But it's not easy, man. It's not easy.
But I feel like you guys do a good job because when I come here, usually when I was in New York, like, oh, this is the Afghan masjid. You go here because he'll speak Pashto. This is the Bengali. This is the Indian.
Yeah.
This is the Arab.
And that's
When
how
I
I was in
came here-
Chicago.
Yeah, when I came here to OCF, I never got the feeling that, oh, even though you guys speak Arabic and there's a lot of Arabs, I never got the feeling that, oh, it's just the Arab masjid. It's just the this masjid. Just the that masjid.
Right.
Here is just the masjid.
It's just a message, right?
Yeah.
There are some. Sometimes you do find some resentment, some sentiments.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's unique to Southern California. In Chicago, it's the same thing. It's very segregated. The Arabs were in the south suburbs,
Mm-hmm.
and the Desis were in the western and northern suburbs. And that's it. I mean, you enter a masjid, it's like 95% an ethnicity. So the masjid I grew up going to, 95% Palestinian, not 95% Arab, 95% Palestinian. You had some Syrians, some Lebanese, some Egyptians. They're kind of scattered there, right?
Mhm.
But it's Palestinian.
So you guys just brought your families over when you came over.
That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
And since New York and Chicago are a lot closer to the native countries,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find easier flights there, that's
Bigger
why they came
population,
here.
more job opportunity.
I don't think it's just that. I don't think they really knew what was going on.
Mm.
I think it's just, okay, this isn't too far from my home country, and a lot of them came
Only 5,000 miles.
only 5,000. Look, it makes a difference when you travel from Los Angeles. So there are direct flights from New York and Chicago to Jordan, but there aren't direct flights from Los Angeles to Jordan.
That is true.
Right? So you have to go, you have to take a transit, and that makes a flight a lot longer. So instead of it being, from Chicago to Jordan, it's 10 hours, I believe, 10-hour flight, or 11. From here to Jordan, you're talking about a good 20 hours, 22 hours. So that's hectic, especially if you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these who are going and visiting their home, they have 4 kids. You don't want transit flights. That's really annoying. And I remember doing that, when we were younger. But I think that's a factor. And people bring their cousins, hey, man, come over here, right? And they
Yeah.
come here.
They have water on tap, hot water.
Yeah.
I never had hot water on tap when I was in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
If we want hot water, we had to boil it and we'd take a shower in that. But the problem is I hated taking showers because I either take it in really cold, freezing water that we got from the well or boiling hot, scorching water that they just boiled.
There's no in
There's
between.
no in between.
Yep. I remember those days, man. Just bring back so many memories. When I first went to Jordan, they have those. They're called like those toilets that are in the ground.
Yes.
You don't have this. What we see here in America, where it's up and you kind of sit
down,
on it.
yeah.
You have to squat. I first went there. I don't know what this is, man. I don't know how to use it. And sometimes I'm out and I have to use these bathrooms. I don't know how to use it. And I'm just glad I never had to go. It just. I never knew how to use it until one day I'm like, wait a minute, is this the ones where you squat? It's kind of gross, but anyway.
I was like the opposite way. So my cousin, I guess we were really lucky. After Afghanistan, because there's war, my family wants education for their children, so we went to Pakistan. And I did my early schooling there. And in our house, we had a toilet that's like a sit-down toilet. I remember my cousin, they also moved to Pakistan for education, but their house was all squat. I was like maybe 5. I remember one day they came to our house, they had to use the bathroom. So I thought nobody was in the bathroom, so I opened the door and I see him not sitting on the toilet, squatting on the chair toilet. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, get out. I was like...
Yeah, I mean, it's just strange.
Yeah.
Strange. I remember doing wudu and there's no hot water. You have to make wudu and it's cold outside.
That sucks so much.
You just have to deal with it, man.
Especially in the winter time.
Oh yeah, in the wintertime, we had to do it.
So I remember for our middle school, because once I hit middle school, I was like, oh, Islam, I gotta get serious, gotta start praying and all that. I remember me and I guess we had a few friends that were one day we were at lunch and we're like, guys, we can't not pray anymore at lunch. It's Zuhr time. We gotta pray. And he was like, yeah. It took us like 3 days to muster the courage to ask for a room. Alhamdulillah, it was pretty smooth, went easy. And so our middle school is on the 3rd floor. And New York schools isn't like California where it's like a whole college campus. Where it's like, oh, we have multiple buildings for your school. It was just, okay, 3rd floor was us. 2nd floor was another middle school. And like the 1st floor, like the basement would be like the gym and the lunchroom and all that. So on the 1st floor, we would go to lunchtime. And if you walk... I don't know how to put this. Long story short, in the 1st floor, on the opposite side of the lunchroom, there's a bunch of sinks that were like deep, so easier to do wudu. But the problem was they were freezing cold. So in winter time, you come down, take off your jacket, do all that freezing cold, walk all the way up to the 3rd floor, quickly pray in a tiny room, and then you had like 5 minutes to eat your lunch. And I had a big problem. I guess I would eat too much oily foods or whatever, and I had a big problem. I remember multiple times, I'd finish my wudu, walk halfway up the stairs, lose my wudu, come back down, I had to redo wudu. One day I had to redo wudu 3 times.
Oh.
That's gonna be not good in editing, but yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. It's natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times, man. We would sometimes make wudu in the cold weather winter,
Mm-hmm.
and we would have the luxury of warm water, right? And then after we do wudu, because it's cold and you have warm water, you just see mist just evaporating off of our hands. It looks so cool. Like we would go and wash our hands. Like, look at us. Alhamdulillah, man. This is really, really fun times. Ugh.
Any fun times in Jordan?
A lot of fun times, man. It's a lot of fun times. There were a few of the American brothers there. Jordan isn't really the hot spot for Americans going to study Islam. It's either Medina or Al-Azhar or Jami'atul Ulum.
Where is that?
In Pakistan.
Okay. That's a surprising one.
What's
I
that?
wouldn't think Pakistan would be a big one.
No, it's a big one, yeah.
Okay.
It's a big one. But Jordan's kind of like, I went there.
Mhm.
That's where I found myself, right? Whatever. I just found myself there. There's an Islamic university there. And the other brothers who end up coming, who are American, were actually in other countries. But
Mhm.
because of the Arab Spring, they had to leave. And Jordan was like the only haven,
Mhm.
the only place that was actually stable in all of the Arab world during that time. So they came to Jordan. And so we're just a group of 6 of us, 7 of us from all across America, from Atlanta, from Denver. One was from Ohio, Cleveland. Another brother from Miami. And myself from Chicago. So we'd get together every now and
Mhm.
then. And us being American, we speak English with each other. At the same time, we have these beards
Yeah.
and these thobes. And we would go to the richer areas.
Okay.
In Jordan, it's Abdun, right? This is where the millionaires are and whatnot. And over there, it's like more of American schooling. They teach you English. You
Mhm.
find the people speaking English there. And of course, like the fake English.
Okay.
So we'd go there, and we're this group of shuyukh. And over there, if you're a sheikh, you know, there's an image, there's a reputation you kind of that comes with you. So you're not expected to be seen in these places. And yet here
you gotta
you are.
always wear your thobe. You gotta always.
We're always wearing our thobes, man.
Mhm.
We're here to study Islam.
That's true.
We're not here to wear like Americans, right?
Mhm.
It's part of the experience. So we'd go to the Starbucks in this richer area, and
They have Starbucks
here we are.
there?
Oh yeah.
But was Starbucks like Israeli owned? Wasn't that like a big thing?
No,
Oh,
never
it's-
was.
Oh.
I don't think it's Israeli owned.
Oh. I thought I heard something like that.
You always have these things that they give some money to Israel and whatnot, but I forgot. There's business behind it. It's not as simple as they just support Israel.
Mhm.
Anyway, we'll keep that for another discussion. So we're there in the Starbucks, and all the people around us who are like the classy, rich, kind of call them the fake Arabs,
Mhm.
fake Arabs, fake Muslims.
Are they
And
like the
they
fobs?
try to no, not the fobs.
Okay.
These are those who think they're Westerner.
Okay.
They're
so-
Western, but a Westerner will see them as not a Westerner, and they just look silly.
Mhm.
Like when an Arab who's an Arab tries to act Western, it just looks funny.
Looks
And they don't
odd.
see that. They don't think. The way they speak English is hilarious. We're sitting there laughing, and they think they're smart. Anyway, we'd be together, and we'd start talking English. Everyone's looking at us, man. It's like, what the heck are these shuyukh doing, man?
They speak proper English.
They speak English. And they're wearing thobes, and they're having Starbucks, man. What is going on? We'd always get those looks. It's hilarious.
Breaking down barriers, Sheikh.
Yeah. Breaking down the barriers, right?
That's funny. From fobs, I meant like same thing like with Desi, like Pakistani Afghans when they
Mm.
come to have like a really tight V-neck shirt on and like tight jeans.
Yeah. No, not like that, but
Mm.
just, I don't know, whatever, man. We don't want to sit there talking about the negative sides of,
That's true,
of
that's
these
true.
areas, but it's some funny stuff. Alhamdulillah.
What'd
Yeah,
you
all
order
the
at
stories.
Starbucks?
I'd get the hot chocolate.
Hot chocolate.
Yeah. Sometimes the orange juice.
Do you drink coffee or no?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I kind of limit myself to
Mm.
1 cup a day, unless I got a little sleep and get some more coffee. Just stay awake because, alhamdulillah, I have a nice baby. He needs the energy, man. So as soon as I done with work, I go to my next job. That is entertaining him. There is no pause, man. There is no pause. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So you kind of need that extra boost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, I want to go as long as I can in life without having coffee, just because I remember when I was younger and like when Ramadan would come by, my parents, my siblings, all of them would just get really angry all of a sudden just because they didn't have
Yeah.
their coffee. They couldn't get up in the morning. They
'Cause
couldn't-
our parents drink like 8 cups a day, man. It's crazy.
No, my dad used to literally drink at least 4 cups a day. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
And I'm guessing he has the stronger coffee.
Yeah.
What's called Turkish coffee. I don't know if you guys have that, but the Turkish coffee, it's like a small cup,
Okay.
but it's strong. It's stronger than Nescafe or something like
Mhm.
that. So yeah, withdrawals, man. That stuff is real.
Yeah, no coffee for me. I already got too much energy as it
Yeah.
is.
Alhamdulillah. Well,
It's
you'll
good.
get older, man. You'll reach my age. No, but I never cared for coffee or tea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember when I was a teenager trying to drink coffee. I'm like, why do they like this stuff? It's so gross. It's weird. It's bitter. I just couldn't get it. But when I was in Jordan, man, you have to. It's like a taboo if you don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're sitting down, and all they do is tea, and then coffee,
Oh, okay.
and then tea, and that's what you do. You're just chilling. So it's part of the environment, and the coffee over there it tastes better. It's called green coffee.
Green. So it looks.
Yeah,
It's.
قهوة خضراء. It doesn't look green,
Oh, okay.
but it's called that. It's a lot tastier because they put a lot more spices like cardamom and the clover spices sometimes depending. So it has a lot better flavor. It doesn't have that bitterness, and they give it to you in small shots.
Okay.
So you have like a small cup like that. They pour a little bit, and then you drink it. And there's like there's customs, man. There's ways you pour and stuff like that, and you better be careful.
I heard that like if with those little like shots, if they pour you a little bit, that means you drink it. That means they'll pour. But if they fill it up fully, they want you to drink it and leave. Is that how it is? It's like
I can imagine that, but it's not like that in Jordan.
okay.
So Jordan, you put a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You put a shot, something you kind of like that,
Yeah.
right? That's it. And what you do is you hold the thermos in your left hand, and you pour the cup in your right hand, and you pour it, right, and then you present it with your right hand,
Okay.
right? That's the customs.
Do you like do the Turkish thing where you put your arm all the way
No,
up?
Jordan didn't do that. Other cultures do that. So Moroccan green tea or tea, they have all the bubbles foaming. It's fun. So that's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started getting into this environment, I was holding in my right hand because it's heavier,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to be good in your pouring, and I'm holding in the left hand. I presented in my left. I filled it up because us in America fill it up.
Yeah.
Supersize me. That's how we think. So I filled it up and I presented. And the guy gave me like the dirtiest look. It's like he looked at the coffee. Thank you. I was like, what happened? So my mentor there is like, you got to pour with your, don't fill it up, pour a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and present with your right hand.
Just because of coffee.
It's impolite to put with your left hand. That's how it is, man.
Just because of coffee.
It's a custom.
Yeah, and I realize customs, like when you think about it in a global scale, when you think about like different customs, it's always a little weird. Because in America, if you slurp, it's like disrespectful.
Mm.
But in Japan, I heard if you slurp, that means like, oh, you're telling the chef.
Yeah, and some
the
of
chef
the
you
like,
the
if
food.
you burp, that means I enjoyed my food and whatnot. I mean, in the end, it's just what people choose.
It's true.
What people choose, and so fun stuff, man. It's really interesting. Really, anyone who's finishing college. Let me look at the camera here. Any one of you young ones finishing college, you're at 22, right? I highly recommend you take a year or two, go to the Arab world, go to whatever ethnic country you're from, learn the culture there, learn some Islam there, go to a place where there's Islamic knowledge, learn the Arabic language. You really will grow. And you don't just grow in your personality. Your understanding of life grows a lot. And so when you come back, you appreciate the small things here that you never even considered before, like air conditioning and heat. Yeah, sometimes when it's extremely hot or extremely cold, we say, Alhamdulillah, we have this stuff. But in general, I mean, we really take it for granted. Water, bottled water. So go live abroad 1-2 years, learn the Arabic language, learn Islam, and come back truly a new person, a better person. It's quite an experience.
I'll keep that in mind when I graduate.
Yeah.
That was a good note to end off on.
All right.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. See you guys next time.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.